So I do like to adventure hunt. I travel a lot, and I don't always kill the biggest bucks, but I like to see new country. And so, yeah, we got Ohio, Kansas, and I forget which one we got next.
We're going to South Dakota.
Oh, yeah, South Dakota. So this was actually the year prior to the buck we just looked at.
Okay.
This is, if we got any ground hunters in the area, this was a ground hunting buck. And so in 2018, I just said I drew Kansas. 2019, tried to draw Kansas again, didn't. And South Dakota's changed their application process since, but in 2019, you could apply as late as August. And it was like, at the time, you had to apply, but it was a guaranteed draw for archery, if that makes sense. So it's kind of weird. You couldn't over the counter the tag, but as long as you put in by August, you got the tag. So my friend and I that hunted Kansas 2018, we applied in 19, didn't draw. So this was our backup plan. So I'd never been to South Dakota before, did the typical e-scouting. And this is kind of beast tactics as far as map scouting and research goes.
Sure.
So first thing I did is I got online, and the archery tags statewide, or at least it was at the time. So I didn't even know where to go in South Dakota. So I did a bunch of research. I paid that year the $35 or whatever it was to get on the Pope and Young database. And this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot these days. And not everybody registers their deer, but if you pay, especially if you're going to a new state, you can search by like the most recent entries. So I looked at the last 5 years, because a lot of Pope and Young entries will be from, 1935 or something. Like a lot of Michigan's trophy bucks and the record books are when the UP was good. And I mean, the UP is garbage now. So I like to look at the last 5 years. We just talked about EHD and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I looked at the last 5 years, kind of settled on an area. Then I called the game warden. Then I called the biologist. So I did some actual research to kind of narrow in an area that I thought was going to be good, and an area that had a decent amount of public land. So I guess those are my tips there, is your hunt can be directly related to some of the groundwork. And then once I did that, e-scouted all the public ground, looked at typical things that we were talking about that'd be good for the rut, your funnels, your draws, all that stuff. And my friend, this was the first year I moved to Montana. So the guy that I normally hunt with in Michigan was going to meet me in South Dakota, roughly halfway. That was kind of how we ended up in South Dakota too. So I got off work a day before him. And one of the things that I like to do, especially if you guys are traveling to new states, if you've got more than 3 days, even if you only got 3 days, I'll spend an entire day, sometimes 2, driving around, checking. And if you watch the hunting public, they do the same type of stuff. You got to find deer to hunt deer, and not every place, especially public land, is going to have deer. So I got there a day early. I'm driving around. I'm looking for cut corn, standing corn, anything that's green still, alfalfa. A lot of times out west, they'll plant like radishes or turnips in the fall to break up the ground. I forget what they call it, like a starter crop for the following year, help aerate the soil naturally without tilling it up. So some of those green fields have been real productive in the past. So anyways, day one, I'm there, and on the archery tag, you could shoot a mule deer or a whitetail, and we were in an area that have both. So with about an hour to go, I see 2 really nice muleys coming off private, crossing the road on this piece, and they're paralleling the fence on public, but they're on private. So I let them get out of sight. I jump out of my truck. And this is a very beastly tactic here too. When you parked at this place, there was a lane that went into a bottom, and I guarantee you 90% of the people that park there, they get out of their truck and the terrain just funnels you into the bottom. But where I saw these deer, I had to go up like a 100-foot hill. Maybe it's 75, a good size hill right off the bat. So I'm climbing up this hill, trying to cut these mule deer off. And on the way, again, they don't have license plates, but I jump what I believe to be this buck. And this was November 6th. So I jump the buck. It takes off with the doe. And from what I know, again, from being on the beast and being a nerd and reading whitetail research and stuff, I know if he's locked down with the doe, there's probably 36 hours, right? And I'm an optimist, so I'm assuming she's not in heat yet, so I got a day and a half. So I call my buddy, I'm joking around, 100% joking around. I said, I saw 3 shooters on this piece. I said, I'll have one down by by the time you get here tomorrow. So, so I sleep in my truck that night. The next day I get up and it's freezing. I mean, it's literally like 5 degrees, 8 degrees. It was super, super cold, and still like not a whisper of wind at all. And I'm like, what am I going to do here? All this grass you can see in the morning was frozen.
Okay.
So I don't have a stand site. This area, you can kind of tell in the background, it's like dotted with junipers. There's not good stand trees.
Right.
Like, what am I going to do? I said, well, this buck, hopefully he's got this doe locked down. If you guys watched Jared Scheffler's episodes, he had talked about this previously, but he's talked about it more since. A lot of times when you bump a buck that's locked down with a doe, they'll just move out of sight to the next cover and they lock down again. They don't want to go very far because usually they've got a doe pinned down in that area for a reason, because it's out of the normal area other bucks would be cruising. Mm-hmm. So the next morning, I'm like, you got to have a plan, right? Even if it's far-fetched, you got to have a plan. I'm like, I'm going to go in. There's a couple draws in this area. I'm going to creep up to these edges of these draws as quiet as I can, and I'm going to grunt once or twice. I'm going to wait 15, 20 minutes. If there's nothing, I'm going to creep into the next draw, and I'm going to grunt again, because it was just so quiet and so crispy. I didn't think I could still hunt my way into it. And I was like, what I'm really going to be doing is I'm going to be scouting my way in, looking for a spot to hang and stand. Maybe I'll run into these muleys. Maybe I'll run into this buck. So where I jumped the buck the day before, sneak in super quiet, and this is only quarter mile off the road. I get to the drainage, I grunt, surprise, nothing, right? I have like, of course, nothing. So I go down through the drainage, and it gets pretty thick where I was at. So I'm kind of like picking my way through these junipers. I get up to the next drainage, and I can see down, and there's like a little L from me to where the wall of junipers started, 20 yards. So I get to this spot, I post up, I wait like 5-10 minutes in case anything heard me walking, and I'm trying to be as quiet as I can. You can't make this stuff up. I grunt, and immediately, I'm talking one grunt immediately below me, I hear 2 grunts right back, and I hear something coming like right away. I mean, I'm like, oh my God. So I stuffed the grunt call in my pocket. And here's a good tip. If you guys are doing any ground hunting and you stop, always knock an arrow. It saved me in this situation. So I knock an arrow. I can hear this deer coming, Scott. I'm talking like fast and hard, like it's coming in to fight. So I draw, and I can only see 18, 20 yards. And I hear it. And now I'm at full draw for like 2 minutes. And when it first grunted, I would guess 60 yards, maybe 80 yards away. Well, I don't see it. And I'm like, oh man, what's going on? I'm getting tired. I'm like, now I'm going to let down. And as soon as I let down, it's going to pop out of these junipers.
Right.
Oh, I'm getting like anxiety about it. But finally I have to. So I let down. And as I let down, I see straight in front of me now. I thought it was going to come up like angling towards me, but now it's straight parallel, just on the other side of the junipers, and I can see it walking through there 20 yards, 22 yards. So I sneak the grunt call out of my pocket, angle it away, and just one little grunt behind me, hurry up, stick it back, draw again. It comes right out of those junipers, and I shot it 18 yards off the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite hunts of my life. And just, like I said, the plan was admittedly ridiculous. I'm like, it's not going to work, but what else was I going to do on a calm morning where I don't have a tree picked out? I'm like, I'm going to go out, and if nothing else, I'm going to get some intel. So I called my buddy, and I was like, hey, big buck down. He's like, you're kidding me. I'm like, nope. And the crazy thing about this one is when it came out of the junipers, in the picture, it'd be the deer's right side, or it's the deer's left side, but the right side of the picture. That's all I saw was the 2 tines sticking up, and I just could tell it had a long beam. I didn't know it had the brow tines. The brow tines are 7 inches, and I didn't know it had 4 on the other. So when I found it, I was like, oh my God, this is like he's like, what'd you shoot? I'm like, I don't know, 115, 120. Looks like a nice 8-point. And then I sent him the picture. He's like, 115. Yeah, right. So it was one of the very few times I've ever had ground growage, which I was very excited about.
Right. It doesn't always work that way. Barely, honestly. Those brows are just incredible. Like, I'm a sucker for some nice brow tines.
Yeah, me too. That's by far. So I had that buck officially scored, and I think they're 7 and 7 1/4. The one that curves is a little longer.
Sure, very cool.
But next to that, the deer I got with the next longest brow tines like 4.5. So yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a really cool looking buck for sure. And I mean, and beyond that, I mean, the story is fantastic. Like the way it plays out. How often does, at least for me, nothing ever really goes the way I envisioned in my head.
No,
There's always something odd that happens, whether it be the direction the buck comes from or what sequence of events take place for things to come to fruition or to that point where you're actually able to get a shot at something. It's always, it's never the way you play it out. And I mean, whether you're sitting in a stand or you're heading out, whatever it is, you're kind of playing scenarios over and over in your head. Kind of like, well, this is what I would expect to happen. This is where I expect the deer to come from. This is, you're playing it out. And I've done that since I was 11 years old, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about those things, like this would be the perfect spot right here if a buck just came out right at this spot here or whatever. And rarely does that ever happen. So, but when you get a story or a situation like you just had on that one, where you end up being able to shoot it from the ground, that alone is really cool.
Yeah, and I know this is top 5, but if we had about 6 hours, I could give you bottom 50 where it didn't work out, so
right.
many times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.